Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another YouTube episode of Bob Montego. And today we are going to discuss a subject matter that's it's very unpleasant in a way, or sad rather, but a very necessary thing to actually do. At some point in our lives, one way or the other, we are going to have to deal with this. But before we do that, I just want to say, if you're a first-time viewer and you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead hit the subscribe bell. The subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like and at the end of the video, at some point, please tell someone about us. This is the only way I get credit for the videos I do, and I try to bring you the most informative messages and information I can. Okay, having said that, today we are going to look at the issue or the situation of sorry about that. What we need to know if we are actually planning a funeral for a loved one in Jamaica. All right, and this is especially helpful if you are abroad while the death occurred and you are actually thinking of how you're going to do this. This will make it much easier, give you all the information you actually need. All right, so first, if you're planning a funeral, it would likely be that the person has died. So the first thing, the very first and most important thing you are going to need to do at this point is to ensure that you get the death certificate. Okay, that death certificate will come from the hospital after they've done all their preliminary stuff that they need to do. Once you get that death certificate, the death certificate, by the way, is also called the pink paper. All right. Once you've gotten that, you can now have the body released to the morgue for them to do their thing. At this point, also, if you need to take care of stuff like maybe insurance that the deceased has set up and left in place to bury them or to do any such thing, or even bank account information that will be useful in financing the burial, now is the time you would do that. The pink paper or the death certificate allows you to deal with the bank or the insurance companies for such purpose. All right. One of the other thing you are going to need to do right away with that pink paper, can't do it without the pink paper, is to get the parish council's approval for the burial in a cemetery. All right. You don't just go bury anywhere as you like once the person passes. You have to get a permit from the parish council to bury that person. And just a little point of note here, parishes, I believe, will not allow you to bury necessarily in those individual communities unless you can prove some sort of residency, or maybe that's where your generation is from, or your point of origin, or something of that sort. So please be mindful of those things. This is why you need to clear it with the parish council and get that permit in place. All right. Also, at this point, you are going to need to figure out the church, how the churching situation is going to go, where they're going to be interned. They will need also a copy of that pink paper. The pink paper is central in everything. That burials, that death certificate is central in almost everything you are going to need to do. So you will work out the church internment situation with that also. The One of the big events of a burial is generally the wake. All right. In Jamaica, we have what's called a 9 night. In many instances, people don't go through the full 9 nights um, as they used to in the old days. But for some, they still do it, and whether it's 9 nights or one night or 2 nights that we're doing for the wake, you need a permit, right? And that permit must come from the police. It's a permit that allows the gathering, and and the music and all that revelry and stuff that will go on. So you are going to need the pink slip for that thing, and that permit will come from the police headquarters in that parish, or whatever regional headquarters might be in charge of that sort of thing. All right. There are two additional things in addition to the pink paper and the list of things I just told you that will be important for you to remember. And one of them is the grave digging. Grave digging is an event in Jamaica, and I want you to remember, you don't need the pink paper and for the grave digging, but I just want to remind you of that thing. It's very important. People take their grave digging seriously. It's a lot of liquor drinking and camaraderie around the grave digging and stuff like that. But it's very important, and please don't take it for granted, because there can be talks and talks about you know how how there was no proper grave digging in place and stuff like that. So please remember, that's an essential thing, especially in rural Jamaica. All right. Another thing is the repast. Repast, for those of you who don't know, is that event, that family gathering after the funeral, that eating, you have the dinner and you have the food and stuff like that, and all of that is served and thing. Please remember that that's traditionally one of the main events of the funeral. Wrapping up things, families seeing each other for the last time before they move off, and getting together and seeing that the closest relatives to the deceased is actually settled and doing better, and all of that, and all the socializing. All right. So just to quickly recap, if you're planning on burying someone in Jamaica, the first thing you're going to need to get is that death certificate, or the pink paper. The pink paper will allow you to release the body to the funeral home, so they can do their thing. It also allows you to start processing insurance, that maybe burial insurance, or whatever insurance, or whatever banking or financial thing there is that require the showing of a death certificate. It will also It's necessary also for you to show, to get the permit for the parish council to allow the burial in 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 the cemetery. And by the way, just want to let you know, burial is not allowed in some parts of Jamaica, in people's yards, but in many parts it's still allowed. But there must not be any outstanding or any arrears owed on taxes before you can actually do that. And some properties you cannot bury on. So please be mindful of that. All right. So the death certificate will allow you to get the permit from the parish council to bury your loved one. It will also allow you to get the church situation all situated for the internment of it. I'm not sure that you actually must have that for the internment, but I think you actually do need that. And the last thing you need the death certificate for is the actual wake, a permit for the gathering of the wake. Of course, it's a lot of music and festivities and stuff, so you do require a police permit for that. And then there are just two other events, none related to the death certificate, that is very important, that should not be forgotten, and that's a grave digging. It's an event in of itself. grave digging, and the repast, the food and festivities, and that wraps up the funeral, of family coming together and all that. Um, I want you to also remember, as a point of note, that please be reminded that when doing wakes and maybe repass, well, maybe not so much a repass, but the wake and churching, please do not be put off by if you do have vendors. I've noticed a lot of vendors are becoming a mainstay now at a lot of funerals, and just be mindful and sensitive of the situation if there are vendors actually coming around and stuff like that. It may sound very unsavory, or might you might be a little put off by that, but that's the going trend. A lot of vendors will oftentimes show up at wakes, and they become part of the whole thing, selling liquor and stuff like that. So just be mindful of situations like that. All right. Hope this has been helpful to you. Sorry in advance if you have to deal with planning a funeral, the death of a loved one. But it's something that will come to us one way or the other, and so we just need to be properly prepared for it, so it doesn't stress us out, and on top of that, cause confusion and disgruntlement and unease among family as we're going through the time of grief. All right, so I want to thank you for joining me. This is Bob Montego, and if you haven't yet done so, again, please subscribe, like, share my video, and tell someone about it. Thanks again for watching.